Good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Herbst with Socius, and I want to start by thanking you for giving us 45 minutes to an hour of your time today. Todd Waterman and myself have thoughtfully prepared some information. Todd and I have been working in the industry, Todd certainly longer than I have, for over 15 years. I myself am a rookie. I've been in the industry for 2 years, focusing on solutions to better enable growers. And so we have shared information that we have seen people really respond to. Before we get started, I want to share really the profile of the organizations with which we have engaged and where we see really the most interest and activity. And some of those challenges that we see common in the industry that people and organizations are coming to us to help them solve. From a company profile perspective, certainly a lot of the organizations that we are engaging with are organizations who are in a place where they need to change to achieve. So a lot of those organizations are growing, and to really realize and recognize that continued growth in a healthy way, they have to change how they operate, and a lot of times leveraging technology to better run that business to grow in a healthy way. And a lot of these organizations also have a vision for the future. They're not necessarily complacent in where they are. They're really establishing a vision for where they want to be. So Todd, if you can go to the next slide, that would be great. When we hear the challenges that people are coming to us to solve, you know, a lot of them are very similar. Everyone has a different nuance, but the challenges really roll up to current systems not supporting the business effectively. We see a lot of islands of information, a lot of manual processes, Excel-based areas of information. And really the challenge there is it limits insights for the business. If we have better information, we're better able to make decisions and the right decisions for our organizations. And so some of the specific barriers to growth that we see are really insight to availability of plants from production to sales. So many times production comes up with a plan, but sales, it's hard for them to get access to, okay, where do we really stand? And there's a lot of walking around and verbal communication to understand that. Insight from sales into production. So as sales books orders against what we anticipate availability to be, getting that communication back to production so we're all on the same page that, yes, we have these items available and we're ready to sell them. Insight to labor planning, especially where we see labor rates going up, where we see skilled labor at a premium. It's harder to come by skilled labor today. Knowing what you need based on your production plan, and really once they're on site, also really knowing how to optimize those employees while they're there. Insight to resource requirements based on the production plan, as you know, labor certainly is a component of that, machine time, space allocation, and understanding what those constraints may be based on our plan. Todd, if you'd go to the next slide. And the other thing we see are a lot of headaches just in back office and back office sales processing. We see a lot of manual processes, a lot of paper-based processes. There's a lot of changes frequently before orders go out the door from when maybe we booked the order before the season began. And with lots of changes and manual processes, there's certainly an increase of risk of error. And so what we've prepared today is really around, you know, it's funny, we have spent a lot of time over the past 2 years focused on what we do for production and insight to production and availability, but I think just as valuable as we're seeing is some of the even back office sales processing. So before we get into that, I do want to share just a minute on information about our organization. It's just one slide, so stay with me. I really want to present information to give you a perspective of what we're doing in the industry. Our organization, Socius, really comes from ERP consulting. We do a lot of work with mid-market companies and have been working with mid-market companies for the past 30 years implementing supply chain technology, so technology that better enables sales and purchasing and inventory and production and distribution services. And we're really bringing that knowledge and that experience now to the horticulture and greenhouse grower industry. We have a vertical practice that we're focusing on the industry based on one of our flagship platforms, Microsoft Dynamics NAV, and in that platform, there are over 120,000 organizations using that platform across the globe. And the grower vertical that we are sharing with the market is based on that platform. And we do a lot of work with Microsoft and our technology. We were proud to be the winner of the SMB, Small and Mid-Sized Business Partner of the Year from Microsoft last year. And certainly have enjoyed being their Inner Circle winner in 22 out of the past 24 years. So I think from a highlight perspective, I think that's what's most important for me to share with you at this point. And Todd, if you'd go into the next slide, that would be great. This is just a snapshot of some of the organizations that are using our offering across the world. Now, this is a mix of both global companies and also some of our direct customers in North America. So while on the platform perspective, from an NAV Microsoft perspective, there are 120,000 companies using the platform. In the grower vertical, we see over 80 organizations worldwide leveraging this technology. And so some of these names will certainly be familiar to you, especially in the North American business. Some of these names from a global perspective may also be names that you are familiar with. So that is the information I want to share about our organization. And really, we've organized our time today to jump into the solution. And like I shared earlier, where we've spent a lot of time focused on production and resource management for production, what people have really been responding to are even some of those tools that come as part of the platform that can help you be more productive in your day-to-day job. So we are going to share the solution with you today from a perspective of tools that will make you more productive. And really, this is almost in the back office functioning. So giving you the information based on your role so you can do your job more effectively in a more focused way, helping you manage sales orders and even access the information when you're entering sales orders and processing sales orders, depending on where you are in that process, getting the information that you need so you're better serving your customer. And also managing communications from vendors, suppliers. We'll show you some tools to help you manage those communications in the form of document management and Outlook integration. And the really exciting piece that I'm looking forward to Todd sharing today is the analytics, where we've really set up some dashboards based on some out-of-the-box tools to help you visualize and interact with your data. It's much different than reporting. It's more of a modeling of data and giving you insight to help you make better decisions. So that is my section and what I prepared to get us set up for the information that we're going to share, and Todd is going to take us the rest of the way home.
All right, thank you very much, Melissa. Hope you all can see my screen. You should see Dynamics NAV in the forefront here. Again, thanks for all of you for coming today. I know everybody's really busy, and I do know that most of you we have met or at least had some conversations with, so it's kind of a nice intimate little showing here. So what I want to start with is just really showing you this landing page here. What you call this is your role center. So NAV is a role-tailored client, they call it. So what that means, Melissa touched on this a little bit, is when you log into the system, really this is your home screen, and everything from the toolbars up at the top, all of these items in here, which are called queues, I'll go over that in a second, and everything in here basically has to do with whatever job this person has. Now this is the kind of the more of the grower login. So you can see, first of all, that I'm sure any of you that use Outlook, this really looks like a lot like Outlook. That's what's really fantastic about using a Microsoft-based system, is that everybody's fairly used to Office, Outlook, and some of these tools, and they've been very consistent on how they lay them out. Like they call this the ribbon. You know, the idea was several years ago that they changed Excel and all the Office programs use this ribbon, and everybody kind of freaked out at first because it was so different. But really what they did is make sure that everything you need is in front of you and not buried in any menus that are difficult to find. So just to go over, pardon me, just to go over this page just a little bit and tell you about some of this. So we already kind of went over the toolbars here. This is your navigation pane. on the left. But what I really want to focus on is this middle section, and all of these are called queues. So there's a complete integration with Outlook. So you can see on this first queue that you have access to your mailbox. So those are several boxes inside of my mailbox, and then you can see it's linked with my calendar too. Now, what's very good about that is what Microsoft has spent years actually sitting with customers using this system and watch how they work. So what they're really trying to do is increase efficiency and limit clicks, steps. Like, you know, a big thing in the industry right now is lean manufacturing. And what do they do in lean manufacturing is count steps, how many times you touch the product, try to take out waste, basically. So what they've done similarly is that they've watched all of these different companies work and discovered that really what employees need is access to everything that they need right in front of them, and they don't have anything that they don't need. So there's no clutter. So what happens is when one, like a grower, logs on, they see this. And just to give you an example of an order entry person logging on, that's what it looks like when they log on. So if you remember from the last shot, this toolbar is completely different. And also the navigation pane and also the queues. You can see they have a list of their customers, some other information, but I wanted to show you that picture real quick so you know that if somebody else logs in, they only have access to what they need, and that's also a security thing too. So depending on the position, IT basically specifies what they're allowed to see here. All right, back to this one. Another thing here that's very special is it's called My Notifications. That's another thing that increases efficiency in that the system actually has a notification system. So these are basically like emails that are going on in the system and outside of your Outlook. Everybody uses Outlook, and everything in the world is in their mailbox. So this is making it so there's a notification inside the system that's specific to things going on in the system. Some of the other queues here, I'm going to open these up. And these are actually shortcuts to different tasks that you do for your job. Like this one here is called work orders. So there's conditional formatting in it, like that it's green right here means there's 0. I don't really have too much stuff in here right now, but you can set it up to where it turns red at a certain number and things. And they're really just visual cues. And all of these are specific to whatever your job is. So these ones are just examples. But if you click on any of these, it's just going to take you directly to where you need to go to do whatever the task it's telling you to do. Get back here. One of the other things that the system has too is a whole to-do system. And that's another thing that they take out of Outlook, and everybody has maybe different to-dos they have to do, whether it's call a customer, update an order, what have you. You can assign to-dos and create to-dos on your own, and then again, those are all just in the system, specific from the system, and not in your Outlook. So really what they're trying to do is make it to where you don't have to go from the system, then go back to your Outlook, then back to the system to do your job all day. Like for instance, back up here to the Outlook section here. If I click on the mailbox, see my Outlook opens. So I can see how many emails I have. I could also right click here and say create new message. That popped up on my other screen, but there it is right there. And so what did that do? That saved you time for minimizing this, opening up Outlook, and clicking, right? So that's only a few seconds. But in that one little task, think how many seconds that is in 1 year for every employee, and compound that on all the other navigation and tools in here that help speed things up. It adds up to a lot of extra time. And that's what's really special about this, is that you spend more of your time taking care of customers, taking care of orders, than you do really trying to find the information and actually enter it. And I will be demonstrating that shortly. The last little cue here is actually, I'll be going over this towards the end, and this is some reporting that's linked here. So you can have that, you can remove these. There's a lot of different cues to choose from. You have full control over how you customize your role center, and again, that's just for you. So it's not going to mess with anybody else's things, or this is specific to you. So personalization you make is just yours. Okay, just a couple more things to mention in here. One of the things that's so fantastic about using this, I've used several systems in the industry in the last 15 years, and most of them were specific to the industry, so they were kind of written locally. And one of the things that is tough with that is there's no manual, or there's no real, if you need support, you have to call that company to even ask where something is in the system. And so what Microsoft has done is this is very search based. So if I want to do anything in the system, I can go up to search, and if I just put sales, you can see it's going to show everything in the system, every area, every tool, anything that has the word sales in it. And so if I wanted to go to sales orders, I can click that and it'll just take me there. Allegedly. There it is. So those are all the sales orders. Real quick, I'm just going to touch on this just briefly on the look of this. The system's very much like Excel. So you'll notice that every list looks like this, whether it's a list of orders, a list of products, a list of vendors. It's all looks like an Excel spreadsheet. And you can go inside to any of these, actually to go into that order, to click on it and go inside. But what's very nice is that from the outside, whoops, sorry about that. But from the outside in that list, there's tons of information and tools that you can click on. Here, I'm coming back here, sorry about that. I clicked the wrong X. All right, we're back in business. Okay, so in this list are all the different orders, but you can see they have the amount of the sales orders. So any of these things you can click on, and it'll actually take you to show you just the lines from those orders. So the reason I'm showing you this is that, like I said, it doesn't matter what list you're looking at. All of the navigation, all of the ways it works, and the drill down features and everything is all the same. So if you learned how to filter on this list and navigate around here, the entire system's the same way in any other list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump right in and just do a new sales order. But before I do that, a couple things I wanted to mention. One is that I want you to think about how long does it take you to put in an order now? And how intense is it? We talk to a lot of employees that, yes, all of the production is done in Excel, but that doesn't really impair the growers. What it really impairs is the information that you as a salesperson or customer service rep, shipping person, all of that information is in their spreadsheet. You're in either another spreadsheet, or even you may have an order entry system, but it doesn't have any of the information from the growers. So a lot of times what that means is it's harder to train employees. When I started, we had 2 Excel spreadsheets and a 3-ring binder that you had to use to enter an order. And I'm not making fun of that. That's very common in the industry. And a lot of times there's even someone in senior management positions in certain companies that also are involved in entering orders too. So what does that do is it takes up a lot of their time, and they're having to do those clerical tasks and not be managing, right? Not be walking around managing. Also, there's tribal knowledge. Most of the time, whether it's even in customer service or outside, there's so much tribal knowledge, as we refer to it, of they've been there a long time, they're the only ones that know the process, really, and it's all in their head. So that's what a lot of the focus is on customers coming to a system like this, is to get rid of that and to not be so beholden to a few employees, God forbid something happens to them. And one of the things that's fantastic is you're on a base system that's Microsoft based, and the information that's out there. So just as an example, this morning, I'm going to drag my browser over here. I did a search on YouTube that said Dynamics NAV how to, and there's 349,000 videos on tips, training, and how to do things in NAV. So like I said a minute ago about some of the more industry specific systems, there's not a lot of information out there. But even if you're interested in the Agroware product, which is just an add-on to this base system, look at all the information that's out here. And that's just in YouTube. If you Google, it's the same thing. So what that does is we're always here to help, but you're enabled to really figure things out on your own and not have to call our company or another company every time that you want to figure out where something is in the system or how to do something. So let's just go into a new sales order. Okay. Just talk a little bit about the layout here for just a second. This is a sales order. The beauty is that pretty much from the list I showed you of the sales orders and this screen here, almost every screen in the whole entire system looks like one of these two screens. They all have what's called fact boxes. I'm going to start over here on the right. Okay, we don't have any information here yet, but maybe I'll do that. Hold on a second. I'm just going to enter an order here for a customer. And so right now that I put in this Nature Farms customer, I haven't entered any lines yet, but you can see over here on the fact boxes, look at the customer statistics. So it gives me the customer number, tells me what their dollar balance is. Here's their outstanding orders, ship not invoice, you know what their sales total is. So any of these, just like something you see on the internet, anytime something's blue, that means you can click on it. So if I wanted to look at their outstanding orders, I can click on that and immediately it's going to pull up their outstanding orders. Now where I come from, that would have been a report. But you can see that pretty much you'll notice as I navigate through the system, almost everything that you need is one click away. Now down to the next fact box below, you can see what their ongoing sales quotes, ongoing blanket sales orders, and so on. Here's a number here, 5. They have 5 ongoing sales orders. They have 5 posted shipments. If I click on the posted shipments, it's going to take me there. There's one complaint. There is a whole complaint system or a complaint system inside the system that you can take for when there's credits and things like that, and you can actually build them in here so you can actually look at those later in reporting and such. So look at all the information you have just about this customer and all you are in an order, right? Think of the lack of reporting you had to do to find out any of this information. If you actually needed to go to the customer, you can click on there and it's going to take you to the customer card. Just want to point out again, you can see that this screen, even though that this is a customer and the other screen we're in was an order, very much the same. So very, very consistent as far as learning the system. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to, I'll just add a line here. Just going to be buying petunias today. Okay. So you can already see now there's a fact box for each sales line. So when I look at this sales line right here, it tells me the item availability is 907. Okay. If I want to click on that, it actually shows me how they come up with that availability and shows me that on Monday the 28th, there is 1,300. There's 300 more in production, but it shows sales orders. This example doesn't have a whole lot of lines in here, but basically just like everywhere in the system, like I said, no matter where you're at, if you click on a number, it's going to give you like a ledger like this that's actually going to show you all of the different positive and negative entries that really brought up that number. So it's very easy when you see an availability number or something that doesn't make sense, well, you click on it and it's going to give you a map to tell you exactly how that came up with that number. Another slick way to do it is if there was nothing available in this week, I can click on the ellipses here. Let's going to go into a little bit more detail about this Vista bubblegum and see now I see all the weeks. And so I see on week 35, we have 1,110, 394 in week 39, and so on. But what's really special about this is if, just like I said, if I want to see what's behind any of these numbers, I can click on that and it's showing me that there was 300 from a job that was planted, excuse me, or 1,000, and then another 300 grown. But these are all the different sales orders. The ones without numbers here actually shipped already. But so you can always find out what's behind any number. A little bit more about this screen too is that you can, if I deleted this and this is really going to show everything that we're offering. Not a whole lot of numbers in here, but I can do a few different things here. If I change this filter up here, this is really showing me what was planned, they originally planned, and now I can change it to required, and now it tells me out of those numbers really where there's orders, where there is requirements. And then if I change required to difference, which is I keep it on this most of the time, because it's going to give you exactly what's available. Now it changes the numbers to subtract the orders out, and then you can see here there's negatives on this product here. You can click on there. Up, this sales order right here of 15, there was no availability. That's what's really taking that order. And just like I said, everything's a click away. If for some reason I want to look at that order, you just click once. You might look at this order, and I'm going to set something up that I talked about before. See these notes? This is that messaging system. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, and I'm going to create a note that need to call customer. Oops. About avail. I'm the only one in the system, so I'll send it to me, but that would have been one of your, whoever knows the answer to this question. And then I'm going to send that note. Close all these. Now you can see here, there's my message. So what's nice about the notifications is it's not like an email where I'm going to open up and read it. If I click on these, it's going to actually take me right to the order in question. So think about how many times you guys email each other or say, check order 105 or check this, and then it's in your email, and then they got to come inside and open the email and go to the system, go to the order and look at it. This is a message they get, they click the message, it takes them to exactly where they need to be. And they would be able to also add a note to respond and say that it was complete and so on. Back to our sales order. So if you think about all the different places I just went, I never even left the sales order. So that tells you something about the navigation of the system. And like I said, it doesn't matter what department you're in or where you're at in the system, or if you're using the grower vertical, it's all like that. It all works very much similar. It has drill down capability. Okay, now I'm going to show you a couple other special tricks in here. I could go right in and I could just say copy document. And let's take a look here. This is the option here is to copy an order. I want to, maybe I have a customer and they had an order last week that's very similar to they want this week, so on. So the document type I'm choosing right now is order, but take a look at this. You got a quote, blanket order, invoice, return order, that whole list, all of those are exactly the same form. So I could choose any one of these and copy an invoice, copy a return order, but again, I'm just going to copy an order. I'm going to click here and it's going to show me the different orders in the system. I'll find the one I want to copy. Let's do that one. Say okay. And now this recalculate lines box, this could be an order from last year, and I want to, it could be a huge blanket order from a customer last year or something. So I want it to get the new pricing. Well, that's why I'm going to also recalculate lines. Now I'm on a different customer right now, so I don't want to include the header. I want to put what was on that order to a different customer. So I'm going to leave that off. If I would include the header, it would also be that same customer from this order. I'm going to click OK. And so now it just brought in the items from the other order. Think of how quick that is. I know there's a lot of customers out there that received handwritten orders. So they have to take the handwritten order and then type that in. Think of how much room for error there is there. Another thing that you could do too, that's extremely powerful, is actually, see this box here that says documents. I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit, but so inside this documents is everybody knows you constantly get emails with order changes, or it could be on a spreadsheet, what have you. And you want to save those different documents to the order. So what I can actually do here is, let's say that this PDF on my desktop here had some information, the customer emailed me about this order, and it's in my email. I can actually just drag the PDF inside of the order, and now it's actually in the order, okay? So on another note, what if I got an email from a customer? I'm gonna save that. And they are saying this spreadsheet contains some updates to the order. So I'm gonna bring that in because they emailed that to me. But also what I'm going to do is open up this spreadsheet they sent me. I'm going to open it from my desktop here. Come on. Sorry. Try that again. Well, somehow my spreadsheet got corrupt. But so you can see, you can drag those in there. I can even do it with an email, which is fantastic. I'm going to actually, just for demo here, I'm going to pull my Outlook on the other screen. And so I'm actually going to pull the email out of Outlook onto my desktop, and then I'm going to drag the email into the order. And while that's coming in, here's that spreadsheet someone sent me, and they want these items. Look, I can actually select these, copy them, we go into the order, I actually pasted those order lines into the order. And so what it's doing, even though I pasted them in there, it still did error checking and availability and all that on the way in. You can see right here, even flagged that the begonia pink here has got an availability issue. So just think of that when you're thinking about how long it takes you to enter your orders, when you can actually paste lines in. And that's just out of the box. We've done, it's a fairly routine customizations to put a button or something to import these orders. So for you smaller customers that don't have EDI or any kind of B2B or anything, you can do it like that. You could actually, if you take handwritten orders right now, we'll create a spreadsheet template, have them fill that out. You can paste it in or import it in. So these are just some examples about the quick tricks. One last thing I'm going to show, just that's very cool for the accountants. No customer service person would ever really care much about this, but I can actually preview the posting. So if I click on preview and posting, it's actually going to show me the different posting that goes on in the accounting. Now, from my past life, we spent a lot of time looking at financials and thinking the numbers were wrong and having to look back and try to figure out the way things are classified. This tells you all the accounts that this is hitting. And if I click on any of these numbers, of course, just like everywhere else, it's going to go in and show me all of the transactions and where the posts are. So I only show this as an example because this power here of this visibility is in every section of the system. So it doesn't matter if you're in agriware, or if you're in sales or accounting or purchasing, it all is that powerful. Okay. Just make sure. Oh, and one last thing. Everywhere else in the system as well, you have statistics. So I can click on the statistics of any customer, any vendor, any product. This is specific to this order. And it's actually telling me my profit margin. It's telling me my cost. It's telling me what the sales are. All the stuff about invoicing, shipping. So even while you're putting in an order, you can see what your margin's going to be. But again, I use the order or the sales order as an example, but that statistics button is everywhere, all over the system. Okay, I think I'm just about good there. I'm going to close this. But just think for a minute of everywhere I went and everywhere I took you and all the things we were looking at, and I never even left the sales order. Now I'm going to show you actually the Outlook integration to this for all you salespeople out there.
What's funny in demos for me, Todd, is that we'll show some elaborate capabilities and then we'll bring up this Outlook integration and people are like, hold on, wait, can we spend some time here? We want to see this Outlook integration.
Yeah, so. It is pretty cool. So, you know, I know there is some salespeople online, and I know, you know, what it's like to be on the road or just off-site at all. And look at what we can do just from the system. Now, this is an email from me. And right here, let's say this is an email from random person. I can click on Contact Insights. So now it's actually going to go into the NAV system. And it already knows that I'm not a contact. NAV has a whole contact management system. Not going to really get into that today, but it's really good for sales. As different emails come in, you can add them as a contact. And so this isn't really going to add me as a company or anything. I can add it as a person, but actually I'm related to a company in the system. So I'm going to say this is a new person and I'm associated to associated to Nature Farms. So watch what happens when I say okay here. Now it knows that I'm part of Nature Farms, so you can see that it actually gives me customer statistics and everything about this customer just from the email. So if their balance is $646.25, they have 6,888 cents in outstanding orders, and of course I can click on that. There's their orders. And this is actually just the sales line. So what's so clever about this, it doesn't show each order, it just shows the items that are on the order and the number. There's 100 Super Tuny Vista bubblegum on this order. There's 100 on this. We can look at their ongoing sales orders. All these things that I was showing you from inside the system, there's our ongoing sales order. I can click on one of those. I'm going to pop it out. There we go. Come on. So look at that. That's the actual sales order in the system. And I can change this. I can add to it. I can, just like you're in the system. Another thing, what if I just got this email here? It says they need 10 more gallons of Vista Silverberry, right? Here's the order number. SO means sales order. So because the system already can see that it's a sales order, if I click on documents, look, it knows that, so it goes right to that order in the system. Yes, it does. So your customer could be sending you the order number or PO number or invoice number or anything, and it will actually pull up the order they referenced in the system. And I can write here, add the 10 to the Vista Silverberry. This is already shipped, so it's gonna not let me do it, but you get the idea. So that's pretty much the Outlook integration. There's not a whole lot to it, but extremely powerful. That does get a lot of attention of people always start telling how they already can think they would use that or different situations that would help them. But really the moral of the story is everybody, most people use Microsoft Office, almost every company, everybody's used to it. And so this system is completely integrated and intertwined with it. And that's only going to continue to get better. All right, I got one topic left. Time goes by fast when you're having fun. Let's see here. Reporting. So you saw just by the navigation and things that I was clicking on, whether it was from an email or inside the system, that there's a serious, a much less need for reporting in this system because of the way it's designed, like with the drill down capability. But there's also a whole plethora of reports already out of the box in here. I'm not going to touch on any of those. Those are more of your standard, report that's just going to, like printing a spreadsheet or something. One thing, actually, I forgot to mention that I just mentioned Excel. Every single thing you looked at, including the order or any list, is exportable into Excel. It doesn't matter the form inside the system, you can export everything. So a lot of people like to maybe search for those customer orders, export them to Excel to play with them, but I should have showed you that, my bad. But one of the products in the Office 365 stack is called Power BI, and what Microsoft did with NAV 2017 is actually bring that in and have it be part of the system. So that is this queue right here, and I'm going to actually just expand it. All right, I'm going to go over to this one first. Okay, what are we looking at here? So on the top left, this is kind of like your standard spreadsheet would be. This is the product line, and it says what the current dollars are, your prior dollars total, and the quantity. Well, this same little spreadsheet is right here in this graph, is telling you the same thing. And I'll show you how much more powerful the graph is than that list. Now, I have the list here because people still like to look at that. So it's not that you don't want to have spreadsheet or table looking graphics in here, but when you combine them with visuals, you can see the difference. Now, I have 3 colors here. The dark blue is your current dollars. Middle line light blue, that's your prior dollars, and then your prior dollars total. So the dark blue line is where we're at today. The light blue is where we were at last year on the same date. And this bottom green line is where we ended up with that product line. So right away, just by glancing at this, I can see we're down on annuals. We're up on tropicals. This year, we're up on vegetables, up on e-commerce, down on perennials, right? Succulents had a good increase. But what if I want to know more? I could actually click down through here. And now it just went from the product line to every variety in those product lines. So now already right here, this is probably a new product or something here, because look, there's only one dark blue line, so there's only orders this year. But it's very visual as you scroll through and can see new orders, or orders here like this quarter line red star sold a lot less this year. Well, who was that? We can drill down on it. And here's the different customers that bought that. So I'm sure all of you are thinking ways you can use this. I mean, the way that I designed this one is more for, where are you at right now? And who hasn't bought, who's down, what products aren't selling the same. And within 10 minutes, you can use a report like this and figure out what product line it is, what varieties, what customer, and maybe start calling some of those customers. What this enables you to do is be proactive instead of reactive. You don't get 6 months into the season and be like, wow, so-and-so didn't order yet. You'd be watching this. This updates automatically, it's connected to the system. So this is something you can look at every day of the week, and the numbers will change. Okay, one more little example that's a little bit more in-depth of the functionality here. All of these are really individual reports, but they all work together. So just to show you a little bit here, this is a broker. I know all of you don't use brokers, but these are actually broker companies. And if I actually turn on the drill down, then I could actually say, okay, let's look at 2014. And 2014 is immediately going to go down to the 4 quarters of 2014 and look at your dollars. And I forgot to point out, let me just drill back up here. This year over year, this is comparing to where they were the year before on this same date. And so we're seeing that this deaf broker here is 62% up from last year. So this is really visual how you can go find what you're looking for and the most important things to look at. Just like the other example, I can also drill down from here into the broker salesman. So now it's showing the salesman of each broker. Down to the ship tos. So this could be your ship to report, your broker report, your variety report. If I go down again, then it's going to actually show the varieties. But what's really neat about this is you could sit there using this report in so many different ways. But what if I wanted to figure out something like this. Over to the right here, these are complaints or credits, right? Some examples: botrytis, canceled order, plants arrived dead. And what I've done is the coloring is for the size of the number. So right away it draws your eye to really where you should be looking. There's $34,000 worth of botrytis claims this year. Last year was only 17,000, which was a little bit better than the year before. But if I want to take a look at that, I can click on that number, and you see that every single report here changed. So on the bottom here, here's the actual varieties. It's actually negative numbers because these are credits, so they're minusing off the orders. But it tells you right away that Osteo Symphony Orange, that was the highest botrytis. And GDP Seed was the broker that had the most claims. I could click on Orange Symphony here. That's the only claims on Orange Symphony were botrytis and too dry. So you get the idea. All of these work together. So maybe this isn't the exact information that you would want to look at, but just think of information that's important to you, and that's what we do. And one thing I want to mention about Power BI is we have a whole business intelligence practice. So we do this for all sorts of companies, whether they use Nav or Agraware, or, it doesn't really matter. It's not system specific. So we do offer that. If there's anybody out there that does need reporting, we can do that no matter what the backend system is. But just the functionality of being able to click on and look at this information is truly amazing with how it works. And that's pretty much all I have for today. It looks like we're just about out of time. And I think I'll turn it back over to Lindsay to see if we have any questions.
All right. Well, if you do have questions, you can put them in the question box on your little GoToWebinar panel. If not, if you have something that maybe pops up in the next day or two, feel free to reach out to Todd or Melissa. There are not any right now, but we will definitely, we have time to,
okay,
when it comes up, definitely put those in, and we will just hang on for a couple more minutes and see if something comes.
Yeah, and then a couple other things I can mention too is that, hold on a second. There's another webinar that I've done that was focused on the Agraware product, the horticulture add-on, and I know that's on our website, as this will be soon. And we are going to continue doing things like this where I'll highlight different parts of the system. So keep your eye out. We'll be sure to invite you to those.
Definitely. So something came in. So question, can Agraware connect to IoT devices?
Oh. IoT, for those of you who don't know what that is, that's Internet of Things. Yes, it can. I mean, that's more of a it's not. We'd have to see what the device is. We are working with that. A department of ours, a consultant department, is working on that right now with different humidity sensors and light sensors and things like that, and actually connecting it to Power BI to look at the data. But yes, IoT is a big thing that's really, I think, going to be big in the industry in a few years. I know Microsoft is actually doing a whole case study with Costa Farms, and that's all about Internet of Things. But that's the beauty of this too, just to elaborate a little more on that, because you have this base Microsoft system. As that technology moves forward, you're not going to have to wait for some company that writes every part of the system. Microsoft's going to keep coming out with these things like the Outlook integration, the Office integration, all of these other things that you're seeing is just all included in the product. None of them are extra. And so with every release, they add more and more. So as IoT gets big, you can guarantee that'll be a big part of the system.
Awesome, thanks. There are no other questions, so we will give you guys about 10 minutes back in your day. But if you do have questions, definitely reach out to Melissa or Todd, and we will get those answered. And thanks again for joining today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.